It is a Tuesday morning, the kind that feels permanent. You are at your desk finishing a second cup of coffee gone slightly cold while a spreadsheet glows softly on your screen. Outside your cubicle, the world hums with corporate predictability. Keyboards click in steady rhythm. Someone laughs too loudly near the break room. An elevator chimes somewhere down the corridor. It is the sound of normalcy, structured, scheduled, obedient. Then your phone vibrates. The buzz feels different. Not a social notification. Not a breaking headline competing for attention. This one cuts through the noise like a siren underwater, a national emergency broadcast. The words are brief, vague, unsettling. You feel it before you fully process it. Across the office, screens freeze mid-load. The internet slows to a crawl. Email stops syncing. A shared drive disconnects. One by one, heads rise above cubicle walls like silhouettes, scanning a battlefield. Conversations shift in tone. The laughter dies. Whispers replace productivity. Rumors move faster than data ever could. Cyber attack, power grid failure, military escalation overseas, satellite disruption, no one knows. Everyone guesses. Management emerges from glass-walled offices, faces tight but controlled. Their tone is measured, rehearsed even. Stay calm. Remain at your desks. We are awaiting more information. And there it is, the first test of World War III, because wars no longer announce themselves with marching boots and radio speeches. They begin in silence, in lag, in confusion, in system failure. Your instinct, that ancient survival reflex sharpened by generations who survived plagues, invasions, collapses. Tells you something else. It tells you that the most dangerous moment is not the explosion. It is the pause before it. If global war truly began while you were at work, would staying put keep you safe? This is not about panic. Panic is loud. This is about clarity. Cold. Surgical clarity. In the first 30 minutes of systemic collapse. Right now, in the thin space between the alert and whatever comes next, you are standing at the threshold of the most important decision of your life. Your office is no longer a workplace. It is a potential containment zone. In the first half hour of any large-scale disaster, the greatest enemy is not the distant missile, the cyber strike, or the military escalation. It is psychological inertia. Studies of disaster behavior consistently show that nearly 75% of people default to group behavior under stress. They look around before they look within. They wait for cues. They mirror the crowd. Inside a corporate structure, this effect multiplies. You are conditioned to comply, conditioned to wait for instruction, conditioned to believe that someone above you has better information, better intelligence, better control. When the CEO says, "Remain where you are," the social gravity is immense. But here is the uncomfortable truth. In the first hours of geopolitical collapse, your boss knows no more than you do. History proves this repeatedly. During major infrastructure failures, from large-scale blackouts to terrorist attacks, organizational leadership often operates in informational darkness for hours. Their screens flicker with the same fragmented reports. Their phones fail in the same overloaded networks. Their reassurances are not strategy, they are placeholders. And while your colleagues sit waiting for a formal memo that may never arrive, the window for orderly exit is closing. You feel it physically now. The air changes. The elevator dings again, but this time it hesitates. The lights flicker, barely perceptible but enough to send a pulse through your chest. Cellular service stutters as millions of people simultaneously attempt to reach the same thing: home. Infrastructure stress has begun. If you are on the 20th floor of a glass-clad tower, your height, once a symbol of professional achievement, is now a tactical liability. Distance from street level equals delay. Delay equals exposure. Traffic maps, if they still load, bleed red across every major artery. The 40-minute commute you complain about daily is transforming into a gridlocked labyrinth. Emergency services will not come for office workers trying to get home. Within 2 hours, they will shift to battlefield triage priorities. Top power stations, hospitals, government facilities. And here is the truth: no one in your office wants to say out loud. Once the grid falters, a high-rise becomes a vertical island. Climate control fails. Water pumps stall. Security systems default to lockdown protocols. Keycard access freezes. You are inside a structure engineered for productivity. Not prolonged disruption. Not siege conditions. not cascading infrastructure collapse. Comfort was the design priority, not survival. This is the core conflict: authority versus instinct. In military doctrine, obedience preserves order. But in a civilian corporate hierarchy, obedience during systemic collapse can become paralysis. Your manager's responsibility is continuity of business operations. Your responsibility is your own survival, and that of the people waiting for you at home. These priorities are not aligned. They are opposed. History does not reward hesitation in fast-moving crises. During events like the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center, and in numerous modern regional conflicts, those who took early independent action, before official evacuation orders, statistically increased their survival margins. They moved before bottlenecks formed, before systems locked down, before confusion turned to chaos. The lag between crisis onset and mass reaction is the most dangerous window of all. And that window is closing. Right now, your colleagues are refreshing dead web pages. They are speculating. They are waiting for certainty in a moment when certainty will not come. War in the modern era does not begin with clarity. It begins with ambiguity. Satellites jammed. Financial systems glitched. Airspace restrictions issued quietly. Supply chains freezing in real time. The battlefield is invisible at first, but you can feel it spreading. Your heart rate is slightly elevated now. Not panic. Calibration. Your senses sharpen. You notice exits, stairwells, the weight of your laptop bag, the distance to the parking structure, the shoes on your feet. Are they built for running or for sitting? This is how World War III would begin for millions of people. Not with sirens, with doubt. And in that doubt lies the decision that separates those who adapt from those who wait. The structure around you was built to manage deadlines. It was never built to manage collapse. So the question is no longer whether the announcement was serious. The question is this: will you trust a system that is visibly degrading, or will you act before the silence turns into something far louder? The office environment exerts a pressure that is subtle, almost invisible, but extraordinarily powerful. It is not enforced with force. It is enforced with expectation. You do not want to be the first one who stands up. You do not want to be the employee who grabs their bag while everyone else is still typing, pretending the world outside the glass hasn't shifted. You do not want the sideways glances, the silent judgment, the label, overreacting. But history has never rewarded those who waited for permission to survive. When major wars ignite, the state's first priority is not your commute. It is stability, control, order. Official messaging will almost always emphasize calm, restraint, shelter-in-place directives, not necessarily because it is safest for you personally, but because empty highways are strategic assets. Roads must remain open for emergency vehicles, military mobilization, utility crews. Civilian movement becomes a secondary consideration, and that is where the fracture begins. Because while a public directive may urge you to remain where you are, your reality may demand something different. Your family is not inside this building. Your children are not protected by quarterly earnings reports. Every minute spent refreshing a dead browser tab, waiting for managerial reassurance, is a minute stolen from your mobility. This is the true friction point of a World War III scenario. Not bombs, not sirens, but the mental weight that keeps you seated while the balance of power shifts beyond the horizon. You feel it in your body. That internal argument between reason and conditioning. One part of you says, wait for confirmation. Another whispers, move while movement is still possible. Now we enter the most critical phase, the 3 to 6 hour window. This is the pivot, the moment when a breaking news alert transforms into lived reality. By now, the initial confusion has curdled into dread. You have tried calling home. Messages fail to send. Calls drop mid-ring. Each failed attempt tightens something in your chest. Across the office floor, more people are standing. More people are whispering. The illusion of normal productivity has collapsed. If you have not left yet, you are no longer early. You are competing. Thousands of others across the city have reached the same realization at roughly the same time. Transportation networks are no longer congested. They are immobilized. Highways resemble parking lots. Rideshare apps show no drivers available. Public transit systems begin to suspend routes as power instability spreads. The 40-minute drive home is now a theoretical memory. Supply anxiety sets in next. You glance at the vending machine. suddenly aware that it represents the only immediate food source for hundreds of people on your floor. The office pantry, once a perk, now looks like a ration station. Water coolers are drained faster than they are replaced. This is where strategy replaces emotion. There is no universal rule. If you are 50 miles from home and every roadway is gridlocked, stepping into chaos on foot may expose you to greater risk, depending on the nature of the threat. If the crisis is kinetic, missile strikes, aerial attacks, movement patterns matter differently than if it is a cyber blackout or distant naval escalation. Context is everything. But if your home lies within a reachable radius, 10 miles, perhaps less, even every additional hour of hesitation narrows your window. What could have been a difficult walk may become impossible isolation. Official government instructions even now may be trailing reality. Bureaucratic confirmation lags behind unfolding events. You must look beyond announcements and assess confirmed facts. Is this a localized strike? Is this a cascading cyber failure targeting power grids and communications? Is this an overseas escalation with uncertain domestic consequences? Then consider geography, the overlooked battlefield of modern survival. Does your commute rely on bridges that can be closed with a single command, tunnels that can be sealed, major intersections likely to become flashpoints for unrest, high-density commercial zones that will draw crowds once financial systems fail? The strategic move is not always the fastest one. It is the one that preserves optionality. By hour 6, the wait-and-see posture has largely failed. You are either already en route adapting in motion, or you are becoming a long-term occupant of a building that was never meant to house you overnight. As the sun lowers on the first day of conflict, something profound shifts. The social contract of the workplace dissolves. No one mentions deliverables anymore. No one references deadlines. The hierarchy that defined your daily interactions flattens under the weight of shared uncertainty. The manager who instructed calm 6 hours earlier now stares at their phone with the same helplessness as everyone else. Water, secure shelter, reliable information. These are the only currencies that matter now. Communication gaps are no longer anomalies. They are standard. The digital ecosystem you relied upon yesterday feels prehistoric. Banking apps fail to load. Card readers stop processing payments. ATMs display error codes. If financial networks have paused, the concept of available balance becomes irrelevant. The just-in-time supply chains that stocked your grocery store 24 hours ago reveal their fragility. They were designed for efficiency, not interruption. The office building does not contain a 3-day supply of water for its occupants. It does not have sustainable heating or cooling once backup generators exhaust their fuel. It does not possess medical infrastructure beyond a first aid kit in a break room drawer. You are watching the thin veneer of modern civilization peel back in real time. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Those who mentally prepared for this transition move differently. They speak less. They observe more. They conserve energy. They calculate. Survival in a World War III scenario is not primarily physical. It is cognitive. It is the contest between your ability to process disturbing information and your instinct to cling to routine, between strategic foresight and emotional denial. The first hours are defined by information fog. Authority effectiveness varies wildly. Infrastructure fragility reshapes your personal risk profile in minutes. Independent thinking is not rebellion. It is assessment. It is choosing to see reality as it unfolds, not as you wish it to be. You belong to a generation that has studied the cost of global conflict. You understand how quickly stability can fracture. And that means your most valuable resource is not strength, it is judgment. So here is the final challenge. Not meant to provoke alarm, but to demand clarity. Right now, without standing up, without checking your phone, without imagining ideal conditions. Look only at the room around you. If the power cut out this second, if cellular signals vanished, if the building fell silent, what would your very first move actually be? Would you wait? Would you gather information? Would you move toward an exit? Your answer to that question, honest and unfiltered, is more important than any memo, any corporate directive, any government broadcast. Because when systems fail, protocol evaporates. And what remains is you. Stay observant, stay mentally flexible. And above all, maintain your strategic distance from the comfort of routine. Because in the opening hours of global war, clarity is survival.